Listen,
I just got my hair cut.
like not even joking, 5 minutes ago. So my shit is just not looking too good. And I gotta say it before someone calls it out. These are not real glasses. Yes, they are blue light glasses. Cause I got little baby, little bitch ass eyes. And I'd be looking at my screen while editing like fucking... So yeah, this is really to protect my eyes. I also got a job at a desk, so... But even then, I'm willing to admit that blue light glasses are designed to be an excuse. Like, I feel like I got a valid excuse, but I'm still gonna admit I'm wearing this because I'm slutting out. And also, I cleaned my apartment for this. God, I'm just slutting out, man. This is too much. To make up for it, next video I'll film in an abandoned cellar. You know what? Actually, for the bit, that's kind of fucking funny. Hold my word to that. Next video, abandoned cellar. Oh boy, I timed this frog and toad video so perfectly. I am just in time for the fall season. Fall is my favorite season. Remember, your body is a temple. Don't you ever share that shit with someone who's a fall hater. Okay, sorry for the long intro, here we go. But first we gotta address the elephant in the room. This video exists. If you want a better frog and toad video, just watch this one. It's like the only other one out there. While preparing this video, I watched that video essay maybe 10 times, just fucking probing that shit, just to find anything that this woman did not cover. So now you're left with me. Sorry about that. Frog and Toad was made in the 70s, but it's still getting more and more popular as time goes on, especially in Vermont and Rhode Island. So if anyone lives in those states, tell me why. Arnold Lobel. Arnold Lobel is just gonna be a guy we're talking about a lot in this video. Growing up really sucked for this guy. He was sick for a lot of his childhood and was bullied just throughout. He coped by drawing animals and more famously telling stories to the other classmates, because that was something he was talented at. And if you didn't know, he's the guy who made Frog and Toad. He wrote it, but he is first and foremost an illustrator and wrote some classics like Owl at Home, Small Pig, Fables, a favorite of mine, Grasshopper on the Road, Uncle Elephant, A Zoo for Mr. Mustard, and like just a few more. There's only one interview that's actually on camera of Lobel. His family says he's pretty standoffish and quiet. To no surprise to anybody, he's like a really nice, good person. Very cool. Anyways, what is the main similar theme between all these books? The drawings. Lobel worked on a macro level for these books, and the most obvious theme between them all is the overall muted colors of the books. I want to say this has to do with the limitations of printing in the 70s, but I could be wrong about that. But these books are just a treat to look at. Like, they just hit the back of your head, you know? It reminds me a little bit of Maurice Sendak, or Sendak, whatever. Toad and Frog. And fun fact, Lobel actually prefers toads over frogs, because when he was a kid, toads just made much better pets. You could just pick them up, put them anywhere, they'd eat anything, minded their own business. Toads. S+. Nardi is said to have created Frog and Toad as if they were memory sketches of old friends. They're pretty fashionable, a little on the chubby side, so it's not hard to tell that Frog and Toad are a little older than a lot of children's book characters, without even telling us that they are. You can just see it. Having your character be easily recognized by a silhouette or represented through just a very basic shape is just plain good character design. I mean, just take the short and stubby, usually the most pessimistic, and the tall, more optimistic friend. Once you see it everywhere. It's everywhere for a reason. Characters being able to be unique from one another, it's just good illustration, and it goes into writing too. To prove to you that I'm not just fucking talking out of my ass, here's some footage of me asking a person who graduated college with an illustrations degree, my sister.
I think Frog and Toad is really wholesome and cute.
There you have it, folks. Every illustrator everywhere thinks Frog and Toad is the best designed character ever. And from then on, Frog and Toad became staples in art and media just in general. Fun fact, did you know that there is a play of Frog and Toad? Didn't watch it. I bet it's good. And then a claymation of Frog and Toad. Wow. You know, sometimes I can find claymation just a little bit creepy, mainly just because of Timmy B making creepy claymations. But despite what the haters might say about the way it looks, this is a very nice looking and wholesome series. Is it as good as the original illustrations? Like, no, but it reminds me of like Thomas the Tank Engine. It's got a lot of charm to it. And they did a really good job at capturing the themes and overall aesthetics of Frog and Toad. However, something the claymation emphasizes more than the illustrations is just how small Frog and Toad really are. I don't think it's just me. I just have a fascination for stories about small people. Like, not gonna be dishonest here, the movie Epic didn't think it was that bad. Books and movies about people that are just small are just so creative about it. And it captures the same feeling you get when you're playing imagination outside. Also about the claymation, voice acting's really, really good, especially for Toad. Frog is a little too high-pitched than what I imagined.
I think we should stop eating. We will soon be sick.
You're right. Let us eat one last cookie.
Speaking of which, the behind the scenes for this claymation is fucking nuts. If anyone has interest in animation in general, they should definitely watch this. It's a gem. They even stop motioned their own behind the scenes. Like, they didn't need to do that. It also looks like it was an old couple's project. Very cute. Anyways, apparently there's this whole art exhibit at the Eric Carle Museum, but it's on the other side of the goddamn United States of America. So we can only get a peek at the early sketches of LaBelle making Frog and Toad, but I like to think Arnold experimenting with the levels of cuteness he gave Frog and Toad, because amphibians aren't your traditional kind of cute you would find in mammal house pets. But I think he found the perfect mix between realism and,
Quixotism.
And also, the drip on Toad and Frog is unmatched. Like, look at Toad in his little winter coat. Men of culture, if I've ever seen it. Anyways, having more dulled colors is pretty unique to Frog and Toad in regards to the medium of children's illustrations. Bright and contrasting colors are beautiful, but they demand a sense of awe from the viewer, while more muted colors lets us relax a little bit. Frog and Toad is just such a great example of color theory in use. It has such a limited color palette and it uses it to its advantage. You can see other art wanting to go back to that type of style. This is just video essay bullshit, just trying to say it just looks nice. Anyways, here's the top 10 illustrations. Number 10. 9. I like how short Frog is. With my gabagoo, number 2. That's how I think he's talking. Number 8. I'm just doing this off the cuff. I really didn't think about this too much. Number 7 is this little skinny frog and its dad, which we don't see a lot. I don't know. 6 is the big frog. It's just unique to Frog and Toad. It's weird. 5. This one's 4. 3 is this one. Look at his little coat. He's so stupid. 2. Oh my god, Toad is so Lana coated. And then of course number 1. It's iconic for a reason, and we're gonna be talking about this picture later. I gotta make a formal apology. In the last video, I said Monster House was the worst movie I ever seen. I was just talking out of my ass. I did not know there was an entire Monster House community. I was coming off of my 5-year-old little pussy ass Josh experience, and so I rewatched it. It's pretty good. Anyways, let's dive into the books. By the way, there are 4 books of Frog and Toad. Frog and Toad Are Friends, Frog and Toad Together, Frog and Toad All Year, and then Days with Frog and Toad being the last one. All with 5 stories, 20 stories in total. And I think the primary reason why people like Frog and Toad so much is because they're really, really dumb. Not dumb as in just not smart, obviously. Except for that one time Toad poured water on himself and gave himself a concussion to help him think of a story. They're the kind of dumb you would call a toddler. They're just more naive, more impressionable, a lot more paranoid, the same way children are. Because there's always something to learn. It's a children's book. But at the same time, it feels like they're much more mature than some adults. It kind of reminds me of the show Arthur. Like, we all know the memes about Arthur, teaching kids more adult lessons early on. Frog specifically is much more level-headed, optimistic, and is more of a voice of reason, or Toad, who's a lot more paranoid, emotionally driven. But that's not to say that Frog is inherently more mature than Toad for that reason. Except he kind of is. Toad kind of sometimes acts a little silly. But this is by no means saying that they are predictable characters. There are a few examples of them subverting expectations. This makes them feel a little more human than just a random throwaway cartoon character. Like, I really wish I could just spout off every single thought I had while reading these books, but there's just too many thoughts to cover. But we gotta talk about the sad one. But today's video has been sponsored by FlexiSpot. FlexiSpot makes minimalist standing desks designed to make any work revolving around sitting at a desk much more tolerable and comfortable. As of right now, they are offering 40% off through the 25th. Their website offers many different types and sizes of desks to choose from, as well as customizable options, like changing the desktop surface as well as the color of the frame. FlexiSpot was kind enough to send me one of their desks for me to try out. I chose the bamboo desk with the black top, also the one that is 40% off. It was way easier than expected to set up, and typically standing desks can be a pain to switch between sitting and standing. However, FlexiSpot made it extremely easy, adjusting the height electronically with just a touch of the finger. It also comes with multiple preset buttons that you can modify to your height, making the process even easier. The desk even comes with 2 USB ports as well as USB-C, and a neat little drawer. I recently got a new job at a desk, so I can be a testament to how grueling sitting at a desk can be. However, being able to stand up as you work once in a while, I seriously recommend it to anyone who's working from home. You should go to the link in the description to check out the different options from FlexiSpot. Again, they are doing up to 40% off on my model through the 25th, and you can get an extra 5% off using the code KOMARDESK. I don't think I need to explain how good of a deal that is. Thanks to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. Very much appreciated for a relatively new YouTuber such as I. The story Swim is Frog and Toad going to the river to take a swim. Frog decides to go naked, but Toad is a little more insecure and wants to wear his bathing suit. Toad tells Frog not to look at him while he's changing until he gets into the water. Frog asks why, and he says it's because I look funny in it. And Toad, being really insecure about it, asks Frog, hey, go tell the other animals around the river to just look away while I'm in my bathing suit. And Frog's dumbass decides to go out, tell everyone, hey, yo, this guy looks like a fucking idiot in his bathing suit. Don't look. That guy looks fucking weird in it. All the other creatures are like, fucking, hey, yo, I'm not trying to miss out on that. So they're all basically doing a stakeout around the river, waiting for Toad to get out of the pool. Toad sees it. He's trying to hold on as long as possible, but he gets cold and has to step out of the water. And they all laugh at him, including Frog. Toad asks, why are you all laughing at me? And Frog says, because you do look funny in your bathing suit. And then Toad goes, yes, I know I do, and leaves. That's the end of the story. We have all been in Toad's situation. Arnold Bell talks about how he believes Frog and Toad are two people kind of inside of him, is an insight onto his own mind. I did not see this as a good ending. This other guy that I read up on agreed with me, but maybe there was a lesson about acceptance in there. It could be argued that Toad, having endured the laughter of an entire forest of woodland creatures, comes out stronger for it, striding back to his residence with a chin aloft and his clothes under his arm. Or maybe this is just a lesson for kids. Don't do what Frog did and tell everyone about Toad's insecurities. And you don't even see Frog having a realization that he might have hurt Toad's feelings. He just laughs, story ends. So maybe it's a story about acceptance, but damn, none of the other stories are like that. That is just a random, just shot in the dark, just what was that? And they never acknowledge it again. Speaking about lessons that you could learn from Frog and Toad, I read almost every single Frog and Toad opinion article out there for this video essay. And I ran into this fucking weird one. They're completely free from any moralistic taint, or sentimentality repulses discerning readers of any age, and children disregard it as counterfeit rubbish. Frog and Toad isn't like that. What? What do you mean sentimentality in stories at all is inherently bad? Like, this person is literally saying that any moral of the story type of story is bad. What? And even then, this same person has an entire section dedicated to the truths you can learn from Frog and Toad. I don't know. I just wanted to share that because what the fuck? It's about characters telling you should enjoy the simplicity of life. That's a lesson to learn from it. Anyways, emphasizing with everyday modern struggles makes children more comfortable with the self. In a medium that is saturated with over-exaggerated rave adventures and larger-than-life threats, Frog and Toad reminds us being an everyday average person is still a profound and beautiful thing. They even reference that in this one story story where they tried to prove to each other that they are brave people, and then at the end realized maybe we're just not those types of people. They ran past the place where they saw the snake. They ran all the way to Toad's house. "Frog, I am glad to have a brave friend like you," said Toad. He jumped into bed and pulled the covers over his head. "And I am happy to know a brave person like you, Toad," said Frog. He hid inside the closet and shut the door. Oh shit. Fucking bitch ass. Motherfucker's trying to turn me into Spider-Man. Your ass is gonna be compost for my plant. Fucky ass, musty ass, little fucking bitch ass spider. Also, did you know that Frog and Toad was almost banned in the 2000s for, quote, promoting laziness? Let me just list off a couple of more themes. An overall theme in Frog and Toad is the seasons and how the times changed, and how daily rituals are much more important than just rituals, and we should value those. To believe in yourself, not listen to others that'll put you down. Like in the Kite chapter, Frog is a lot like Lobel in that he tells stories to Frog to comfort him. There's so many things to dissect, you're just gonna have to read the books. But in general, Frog and Toad romanticizes the simple life. In media often targeted towards adults, they talk a lot about savoring the simple and small things in life. But that is just as an important lesson to teach children. That's what sets apart Arnold Lobel's stories from other illustrators. I think we should bring up the most important Frog and Toad story. In this story, Toad finds a note on his door. "Dear Toad, I am not home. I went out. I want to be alone." Toad panics, as he does, and immediately starts apologizing for all the stupid things he's done and even offers him lunch. In the process, though, he gets all the picnic food wet. He spills all of the food into the river while trying to get to Frog. This is just a very vulnerable moment for Toad. "Our lunch is spoiled," said Toad. "I made it for you, Frog, so that you would be happy." "But Toad," said Frog, "I am happy. I am very happy. This morning when I woke up, I felt good because the sun was shining. I felt good because I was a frog. And I felt good because I have you as a friend. I wanted to be alone. I wanted to think about how fine everything is." "Oh," said Toad, "I guess that is a very good reason for wanting to be alone." "Now," said Frog, "I will be glad not to be alone. Let's eat lunch." Frog and Toad stayed on the island all afternoon. They ate the wet sandwiches without iced tea. They were two close friends, sitting alone together. That's the ending of Frog and Toad. There was never a book after that. And it is a perfect conclusion and a perfect goodbye to these characters. This is not what I ordered. There's this new Apple TV show that's coming out for Frog and Toad. I don't really have much to say about it other than I kind of wish that maybe the animation replicated the books a little more. But hey, that's cool. I hope me eating into the mic fucking ruined someone's day. And Apple TV came out and said they will keep the gay subtext in Frog and Toad. This is just another classic example of woke media coming in and ruining all these different... They've always been gay. At least I'm like 87% sure. The only thing that's stopping people from being fully convinced that Frog and Toad have a gay relationship subtext is the words coming out of Arnold Lobel's mouth. These characters are gay. But everything, and I mean everything, points to Frog and Toad having a gay subtext. And no, I am not talking about the stuff that actually happens in the story. Not even going to point out the very intimate moments Frog and Toad share, because that could just be a intimate friendship. Because no one is saying men can't be friends and not be labeled as gay. Anyways, let's look at the facts. Arnold Lobel is gay. He came out to his family right after Frog and Toad Together came out, the second book in the series. So he was a semi-openly gay man while he was writing the books. Next thing is that his daughter later came out saying that she believes that her father's work on Frog and Toad, which by the way is the only book he wrote of two characters with deep connections with each other, was the beginning of him coming out. He was a very quiet man, and she believes without a shadow of a doubt that Frog and Toad was a creative outlet for him for all these feelings. Like he already said, he applies his own life and feelings into his work. But there's no hard evidence that Frog and Toad would have been influenced by Lobel's own gayness. Oh, so you want a direct quote from Arnold Lobel saying otherwise? Bam! Get fucked. Quote, "You know, if an adult has an unhappy love affair, he writes about it. He exercises it out of himself, perhaps by writing a novel about it. Well, if I have an unhappy love affair, I have to somehow use all that pain and suffering, but turn it into a work for children." That is Arnold Lobel. Again, the only thing stopping people from being fully convinced that Frog and Toad are gay canonically in the story is Arnold Lobel just straight up saying they are gay. Like, all the facts point towards there being a Frog and Toad subtext in the stories. Well, clearly, Josh, you haven't done your research, because I saw a Ben Shapiro thumbnail saying Frog and Toad have gone woke. Fuck. God, they got me. Because I am dedicated to educating people, I will look at other points of views, even if modern day Shapiro has more YouTuber punch-ins than I do. The video essentially is this. 99% of it is just saying woke media, woke mob, woke, they're telling you this, just straight up fear-mongering. And then the 1% is him stating one fact and then never addressing it again or elaborating on it. Just a little whoop. The fact that Arnold Lobel is gay. And after that, he just keeps going to the old woke mob, woke media, woke, 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 woke. If it adds to my credibility at all, I used to be a big Ben Shapiro dig writer. Like, I was that guy. After a while, you just gotta start thinking, when Ben Shapiro just goes on these unrelated rants about things without a lot of evidence backing it up, they're trying to do this to you, they're trying to infect your kids, A lot of the times you just gotta go, says who? That is way more of a powerful line than you realize it is. Says who? Like, really? And the thumbnail is super misleading because Frog and Toad are friends is only one title. That's like saying Lord of the Rings Two Towers is all of the Lord of the Rings books. And if you're gonna take that literally, might as well take the Frog and Toad together as literal. But you wouldn't do that because that's stupid, because it's only one book. And even then, he's saying that Apple has officially made Frog and Toad a gay couple. No, they haven't. They were just asked, will you keep the gay subtext as it was in the originals? All they said was yes. There is nothing to cover here. This 14-minute video has maybe just over a minute of actually talking about Frog and Toad. Only one piece of evidence was said, and he never talks about it again. Fuck, man. No joke, when I watched that video, I went in and downloaded an extension to lower the pitch coming off of my laptop. And some of you don't believe that stuff to a degree, but you would say, you know, I'm just not into someone sexualizing my favorite children's book.
Who are you talking to right now?
Like, not a single person that is going to acknowledge the gay subtext in Frog and Toad finish reading a book and go, man, I bet they had hot gay butt sex after that. Nobody is saying that, dude. Okay, bringing it back a little bit. If you really just want to ignore the facts that I've shared with you, cool, but keep it fucking cool, all right? I'm just mad projecting because that's something I used to do when I was 14. Learning about this, that Frog and Toad could have a allegory for a gay relationship, I read the books to see if anything would change, and nothing. Nothing changed. I had the exact same experience I did when I was a kid. You know how I said how I read almost every single opinion article on Frog and Toad? Well, this is one of them, just to see if there's something I'm missing. I only learned about this recently. I don't want to go in acting like I know all the facts. But there's this funny quote I want to bring up about a guy talking about all the gay stuff. When I read the stories, I pictured Frog and Toad as two old duffers, old bachelors who'd become friends in their youth and never married, and who'd settled into a lifetime friendship without a sexual or romantic thought ever going through their minds. I never once thought of them as a couple. What, you think I'm gonna disagree with him or something? That's a good quote. This is a 100% valid take. There's nothing objectively, inherently romantic happening in Frog and Toad, and this guy's perspective, I can totally get down with. Like, when I was reading the stories, I subconsciously, probably just because it's my own experience, saw them as just two friends. That's the thing about subtext. You hear me saying subtext a lot. Time to explain what I mean by that. A subtext is like a certain group of people digging into a story garden, right? Finding something that can say a lot more about what's on the surface garden, but it never changes the surface's beauty. Me and you might find something on a different part of this story garden, but again, it still doesn't affect the overall image of the surface of the garden. Now, I feel like I really need to share something that I hope someone out there doesn't mistake me for saying, because I think it's said a little too often. Positive masculinity is not defined by the amount of queerness or femininity a person possesses, even if you want to say it's a thing to have levels of femininity or queerness in you. And queerness is not the lack of or the inclusion of masculinity. There are plenty of gay men who are good examples of positive masculinity and gay men that are good examples of toxic masculinity. Exact same goes for straight men. I see too many examples like this video, where they have a spectrum of zestiness, where one side is a man who beats his girlfriend and the other side is a closeted gay man. It's just a joke, but I think that's how some people really view positive masculinity is. Positive masculinity and femininity get tied together too often. And then you go a step further. Queerness is not femininity. Your queerness should not make you any less of a man than somebody else. All of these things can live separately from one another. I say this just to make sure that we're all on the same track. Because Frog and Toad, just a good example of positive masculinity. Frog and Toad serve each other, encourage each other, compliment each other, and most important to me is that these are dumb problems they go through, but neither of them trivialize those problems for each other. In the story The Button, Frog doesn't make fun of Toad for losing his button or making fun of him for making a big fuss about it. Instead, he helps Toad find the button. And to thank him, Toad gives Frog the finished coat. And men objectively need more deep friendships. And how are people supposed to learn without a good example like Frog and Toad? Because Frog and Toad is neither aimed at boys or girls, despite me just talking about all this and stuff. We can just sometimes overcomplicate the lessons we should be learning. Here's the thing about Frog and Toad. It's this. Rarely do people come back to revisit Frog and Toad because of its storytelling or the more mature themes or the subtext. It's because people remember Frog and Toad. More than a simple, I remember reading those books as a kid. No, it's more than that. When someone reminds you of the world of Frog and Toad, it's a feeling that catches up to you. The same feeling you get when you smell a scent that is from your childhood, or the feeling of hugging a relative in a sweater, having quiet moments totally content by the window. To escape into the illustrations of Frog and Toad is to escape into a curated atmosphere. The most mundane of our daily rituals is to be cared for and to be loved. Baking cookies and going on walks can take up a whole day in the Frog and Toad universe. We all want to live a life that is filled with days where we can prioritize our tomato garden, sipping tea by the window, reading our favorite book on the porch. It's a shame that Arnold Lobel died relatively early. If he didn't, he would have been able to see how his most personal work has become a sense of comfort for so many people. Most of us that grew up on Frog and Toad will just keep getting older, growing up in lifestyles that get more and more complicated. I think we should remember Frog and Toad. Remember the feeling we got when we were able to see two close friends sitting alone together, eating wet sandwiches.
The loveliest